Good morning, everyone. We're thrilled and excited to celebrate the return of a very special cougar today. Marcelo Claure graduated from ACS in 1989, and since then he's become an entrepreneur and an investor, but he might be best known locally as president of Club Bolivar. His list of professional accomplishments is singularly impressive. He's been CEO of multiple corporations with assets measured in the hundreds of billions of US dollars. He also has a commitment to cultural, sports, and educational institutions. This includes serving on the board of Carnegie Hall, owning the Girona Football Club, and serving on the Presidential CEO Advisory Board of MIT. We warmly welcome Marcelo back to campus. His dedication, creativity, and hard work are an inspiration to students at ACS, in Bolivia, and around the world. Welcome back to ACS, Marcelo, and I'd like to invite you to address the...
So, I have no words to express how excited I am to be back. Just walking, I have not been here in many, many years, and just walking to school, the amazing memories that I had. This was probably, the best moments of my life when you're young, when you're full of dreams, and I can probably tell you that I had some of the most amazing and craziest times when I lived in La Paz, and it's hard to believe that, time flies, 99. If my math serves me right, 89, 99, 2009, 2019, it's been 33 years that I stopped being a student here. And I can tell you that, life has been good to me since I left the ACS. I was able to go to college in the US. I did really good. I skipped my master's degree, and I was lucky enough to get a couple of doctorate degrees. So that was fun. I had a chance to give a commencement speech at the university where I graduated, but that was really, really fun. And I've had the chance to jump into some crazy, crazy ventures. Like in the US, even though everybody thinks the US is a country full of rich people, it really is not. There's about 10 million kids today who don't have access to the internet, and then they go to school, and the teachers give them homework. And then unfortunately, if you don't have access to the internet at home, you cannot do your homework, so then they go try to catch internet wherever they can, outside Starbucks or outside McDonald's, and then sometimes that leads to meeting the wrong crowd and then, damaging lives. And that really pissed me off. And what really bothered me is that most of those people are blacks or they're Hispanics. So a few years back, I started an initiative that was called the 1 Million Project, in which I gave away 1 million computers with 1 million free access to the internet to basically underserved kids who didn't have access at home. And I did that while I was the CEO of Sprint, and Sprint is a very large telecom operator. And then when I merged Sprint with a company called T-Mobile to create, one of the largest telecommunications companies in the world, as part of the merger, we agreed that we were going to put an end to this and actually expand the project to be called now the 10 Million Project, which means we want to do something in the US that's called, we're going to destroy, the digital divide, meaning every single kid now has access to the internet, and now they have a chance to be as good. As you probably know, if you don't have access to the internet, or if your phone is not connected, or if your laptop or whatever, then you're handicapped. So that to me was a big deal. And before that, even though I applied to MIT and they told me no twice when I wanted to go to college, I ended up joining MIT as being an advisor to what's called the MIT Media Lab. And today I'm lucky, I serve on a committee, which is only 5 of us, 5 CEOs. It's called the MIT Presidential Committee, in which the president of MIT, basically we sit with him once a month and we're helping him redefine education and all that. But I joined MIT and I met a scientist, a guy called Nicolas Negroponte, and he had a dream that we were going to do a $100 laptop. And we went with MIT and we designed the first $100 million laptop, and then we're able to give it a ship and millions of those to, again, to poor countries around the world, with the hope that kids will be connected to the internet. So, in summary, ACS has played a big and important part of my life. I did a lot of things that I cannot share with you, because I was one of those kids. But I wasn't, I wasn't the best behaved student, but I think I got decent grades. So I'm sure if you talk to my teachers, if they're still around, they will tell you some pretty bizarre stories. Those are my time, but that got me through college. I went first to a small school that was called UMass Lowell, and the reason why I went there was because my dad's dream was I have an older sister and a younger brother, and my dad's dream, he says, I want to basically put my kids through school. And we didn't have that much money to be able to pay for the three of us in the school in the US. So, I figured a school that was close to my dream school where I wanted to go, but we couldn't afford to go to the school I wanted to go, so I went to a school that was closed. There was a school called UMass Lowell, and it was great. And today's a special day because when I went to UMass Lowell on my first day, I met a guy who ended up becoming my best friend. And up to today, he's my best friend. And today, my friend Alan is here with me, so he came with me all the way to Bolivia to watch today's game, and he's lucky to be here in the school here. But I went to UMass Lowell, and I didn't have the best grades in high school. So at UMass Lowell, I really tried real hard, and I got straight A's. And then I applied to the school that I wanted to go, which was a place called Bentley University. Back then was Bentley College, which was a business school, because I had a dream that I wanted to be an important business person from the day I went to college. I did relatively well in college, and then I flew back to Bolivia, like most Bolivian students. Most Bolivians that go to school in the US, you come back to work with your family or something like that. And then in the plane back, I met this guy who was totally crazy. His name was Guido Loaiza, who basically told me, look, I'm going back to Bolivia, and I'm going to take Bolivia to the World Cup. And since you kids have been here for a while, you realize that we haven't made it to the World Cup in a very long time. As a matter of fact, we have never made it to the World Cup. And he was a big dreamer, and I learned a lot from Guido. But by the time I landed in Bolivia, Guido had asked me, hey, do you want to be the vice president of the Bolivian Soccer Federation? So I said, sure, why not? So I landed in La Paz. My mom was super upset. She said, I will send you to school in the US for you to get a good job. How in the world you're going to go join the Bolivian Soccer Federation? And with Guido, we trained a team, we put together an amazing team, and most of you will not remember, but the only time in the history of Bolivia that Bolivia ever made it to the World Cup was in 1994. So that was the only time that we took Bolivia to the World Cup, and probably that was the most defining experience in my life, because for Bolivia to make it to the World Cup, it's as close to impossible because we play against Brazil, against Argentina, against Colombia, against teams that are way better than us. But what that taught me is that, we traditionally set our own limits, right? And Guido had no limits. He had a big dream. And that taught me that we're capable of doing anything. So I went back to the US, I started as an entrepreneur. I started buying and selling frequent flyer miles as soon as I graduated with my friend Alan. We opened a restaurant that miserably failed with my friend Alan. And then we opened a cell phone shop that we made it grow. It was really, really good. And then I wanted to be a distributor of mobile phones. And we started selling phones from this little tiny shop. And then that grew to a bigger shop, that grew to an enormous warehouse. And fast forward, that grew to be the largest company ever founded by a Hispanic in the history of the United States till today. So the company I founded, Brightstar, up till today, there had never been another company of the size. To put things in perspective, Brightstar was now in 70 countries. It was touching 1 out of every 6 phones around the world. And it was selling close to $10 billion, so it became the largest company. So to me, that was a lot of fun, starting a company. It became the largest Hispanic company. It became the largest mobile phone distribution company in the world. It became the Inc. 500 fastest growing company. And to me, that was really cool because, a lot of people, when you go to the US and you're going to experience that if you go to school there, a lot of people say, because we're Hispanics, it's harder for us. And to me, I always looked at it different. I say Hispanics were twice as good as anybody else because we can be Americans and we can be Hispanics. So that allows us to enter both worlds. So that was very nice. That was incredible. And then I had a Japanese guy who bought my company, and he offered me to be the CEO of Sprint. Sprint's an enormous telecommunications company. It had, when I got there, it had like 90,000 employees. And to me, it was a public company. It had been in business for 120 years. The whole city of Kansas City revolves around Sprint. And it was super nice to go. And the company that was losing money, we fixed it, we turned it around, and we did what today is the largest telecommunication merger in the history of the world. So that was a lot of fun to do. And then, I went to Japan to work for the guy who bought my company, and we started for a new job. I knew how to run companies, but I didn't know how to invest. So I went and worked with my boss. We learned how to invest. We launched the biggest technology fund ever launched with the famous 100 billion vision fund. We were investing $1 billion a week, so it was a lot of fun. We invested in companies that have changed the world, like Uber was one of our companies, or DoorDash, or I can go on and on. So most technology companies that you know today, we were the original investors who have invested, and it was an amazing learning experience. Then I came back because I wanted to be close to Latin America, and I did the SoftBank Latin American Fund, which is the biggest fund in Latin America. And then, I'll share this story with you guys. Then I went to fix another company that was very public, a company called WeWork. And we worked really hard at fixing WeWork. We fixed WeWork, and then I woke up one day and I said, I think I've done everything that I had to do. That was about 3 weeks ago in this company, and I'm not happy anymore. So I called my boss and I said, I'm leaving. He said, you're crazy. I said, I know I'm crazy. But it was to pursue, a different passion. So right now, I can call myself unemployed or self-employed. One of the two. I've been doing that for a couple of weeks, and I figured a moment that it didn't matter how big it was. I was managing $350 billion, which is, I think, is about 10 times the size of Bolivia. And one day I just didn't have that fire in my stomach. And there's one thing that we'll talk and I'll tell you. I think the most important thing is to always be happy in what you're doing, to have that passion to win. And the day that I stopped, I decided that I just didn't want to be there anymore. So I'm getting ready to launch my new venture. And my new venture is very different than anything I've done before. It involves helping people, working with young entrepreneurs to help them, do what I've done. Because I think my time of doing has come to an end. I'm still young, I think, 51 years old. But I've done, I've run companies, I've taken companies public, I've founded companies, and I think where I can help now is helping these young entrepreneurs that have big dreams and help them accelerate their dreams and teaching them to not make the mistakes that I've made. So I only tell the good things. I can tell you the 500 mistakes that I've made, and if they can avoid making the same mistakes that I've made, I think I can be helpful. So you're going to see a lot of me maybe investing in younger companies and helping young entrepreneurs, become better. So that's a little story about me. I will tell you that you are lucky to receive this education. This by no means is, I guarantee that every one of your parents worked their butts off to be able to pay for the school, because I was Googling the tuition and chip. So take that responsibility, with you. Understand that a lot of people make sacrifice for you to be here. And you're lucky, you're privileged to be able to get this education, and you're lucky and privileged to be able to speak two languages that in the future are going to be great for you. So thank you, and apologies for being late. So now we're going to sit down. I guess some of you have submitted some questions, so thank you for paying attention, and it's so good to be back with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcelo. What could be more inspiring than lifting others up and helping them achieve their dreams? Before we've got some questions for you, but before we jump into that, we have one of your former teachers, who I hope won't tell any of those stories that you don't want told. But I'd like to invite Corella Sainz to come up and give us a few minutes.
Well, I think a lot of you, I know that many sophomores know that this is my team. Marcelo here was my student many moons ago. Yeah, and I'm not gonna bring in or up all the stories that I have. Some of them are like R-rated. But you know, I did try to teach him at some point in time what were the best colors. No? Black and yellow. What was the best team? But you know how students are, sometimes they don't pay attention to teachers. And Marcelo kept on his dream with Bolivar, and he still believes it's the best team in the world. Let us, he can keep on believing that. But really, Marcelo was my student, and I used to teach business administration, economics. He was even in my yearbook class. I don't know if he remembers it that well. So when people ask me if I ever taught him, I often say, yeah, I taught him everything he knows. And I know I only planted a little seed there, and he took it from there. I mean, he is an excellent entrepreneur, and whatever we did at school, that's what we do with all of you. We just plant that seed, and we hope that you make it grow. What Marcelo was, like many of you here, he was adventuresome, he was funny, he was loud. We have here the yearbook that tells a lot of stories. I'm not going to share this with you. This is mine. Okay? But one of the things he used to do is he used to bring a ball into the class and try to play soccer inside of the classroom. So that was taken away from him many times. Also, rumor has it that he used to sell candy from his locker. So you see, he was an entrepreneur all the way like since he was a kid. He didn't have to leave school to start his business. So as you can guess, he was often sent to the office. The people in the office knew him so very well. And like you would say nowadays, he was often misunderstood, but no, we really knew what he was up to. I remember, and I can share this with you, we used to have this fundraiser called the Turkey Sale. And the Turkey Sale, well, the seniors volunteered to sell themselves to whomever would want to bid on them, you know? And this was, of course, to raise money for the senior class. And all the students and teachers or whoever ever bought this person had a chance to dress them up as they wanted, make them do whatever they wanted on a given day. Like if it was carrying your books around, this person would walk behind you and carry the books behind you. So the office staff bought him. The office staff bought him because he was just like, we want to get back to this and get back at this kid. So they bought him, and they paid the highest amount of money for him. Okay, and way back then, of course, everyone knew I was a strongista. They even had me. They bought me at one point in time, and they had me dressed as with a Bolivar t-shirt, which was a bad day for me. So the office, I guess, they wanted to get back for all the running around they had to do for him, and because of him, I don't know if you remember what they dressed you up as.
Ballerina.
They dressed him up as a ballerina, and we have pictures to show that. This is a valuable yearbook. Not many copies left. In fact, I went to the library yesterday and I couldn't find it. This is my own. But in any case, Marcelo, it was really a pleasure to have you in my classes, although maybe at the time I didn't show it. Yes, exactly. But more than that, it is a happy day for the school to be able to say we had something to do with your upbringing. Hopefully, when you look back at ACS as the place where you started from, you have fond memories of your teachers, you have fond memories of your friends, and overall of ACS in general. I know that you have friends, you are friends with many of the parents we have here of these kids. Many of them went to school with you. So I know you have, and hopefully you have good memories of ACS. And I hope that the school anecdotes and stories that have been passed around also to your children. No, I know they're not, I mean, if you were able to tell us here that you were dressed as a ballerina, I know that they know a lot more. But I want to thank you, and I want to, this is a person who started off just like all of you guys. He had to do CSP hours, he went to a school, he shared breakfast with little kids, he traveled like you used to travel on Classroom Without Walls. He did a lot of the things that you do all along as your students. So hopefully, some years from now, many years from now, probably won't be here anymore, but you can come back and you can share it with ACS students. Thank you, Marcelo, for everything you've done for the world, okay? And I hope to see you back soon. And you know what are the best scholars.
Yeah.
Thank you, Flora. And so now, Marcelo, if you don't mind, we will we have some questions from our student body, and they spend a lot of time in their advisories working on developing those questions. And I've just rearranged them here so that we can work through them. So the first one is really building on what Carola said. What's your favorite ACS memory? Or perhaps who was your favorite teacher?
Sure. You know, I'll tell you my favorite, I had a lot of memories, right? And I was often misunderstood. You know, I'll share it, it's crazy now that I think about it. So we had I don't know if they still let you throw water balloons the day of Carnival.
No.
No? Okay, in my class, and now I was truly a troublemaker, so now I'll tell you a funny story. They allowed everybody to throw water balloons, and they sent me home beforehand, because they said, I wonder what he's going to put inside the water balloons. So he's not allowed to come. And that really hurt my feelings, because I honestly wasn't planning on doing anything bad, but I guess, and this is why I'll tell you, reputation does matter, and perception is reality. So Carola, Sandra Resnicek, Herm Penland, Mr. Danishue, who were the superintendent and the head of high school, they all got together and they said, look, just for safety purposes, we're going to send them home. So I always remember that, but I wouldn't call it my best memory. I think my best memory was when they did that turkey sale that she mentioned, and I was blown away because they used to pay, I don't know, like $5, $10 for every senior, and then for me, the thing went crazy. It was like the highest price by 10 to 1. And that was the teachers, they all ganged up and they all wanted to make me suffer for one day. So they embarrassed me because they took me class by class as a ballerina. And every class I went in, you walked in, and they thought they were hurting me. But they made a mistake, they made me stronger and more resilient. So that, what they did actually made me a lot stronger. So anyway, that was a good memory. I had so many great teachers here. I had one that I always remember is I used to play soccer. And I don't know whatever happened to the soccer coach back then, was a guy called Calderon. You know, and Calderon used to get mad at us and he used to say, corre, cagaleches. And I had that put in my mind the whole time. So I have so many amazing memories, traveling to Santa Cruz with the teams, traveling to Cochabamba, hosting people here. I mean, it was just, we had a blast. I don't think I go back and I say how lucky we were, how lucky you are to be part of an institution like this, because at least me, I only have great memories. I used to fight a little after school. I used to, once or twice a week, we used to go back then and just engage in a little fighting. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah. I don't know if that still happens or not. But.
Let's see. How did you know what to do after you graduated from high school?
First of all, you're not supposed to know. So whoever tells you that, I can guarantee what you think you know is not going to be that. And I had no idea. All I know is I wanted to go to college. I wanted to go party a lot in college. I wanted to experience different things. To me, college, and sure, you should take it serious and you should try to go to the best school and all that. But college is to have fun, right? Because college you gotta study, but I'll tell you, to me, college was about having fun, while still being responsible. Of course you gotta go to class, of course you gotta try to get good grades, and of course you gotta try to learn. But at the end, I would say, if I was sitting in your time, and I could redo everything, I would have had more fun in college, and I had a lot of fun in college. So, no clue what I wanted to do. I just wanted to go study, meet new people, and explore the world.
Thank you. What do you think some of the key jobs and careers are in the future?
Okay, so the hottest thing right now, you're lucky. We're living in the most exciting times in history that the world has ever lived. And that's because technology is basically changing everything. Right? When I grew up, there was nothing exciting. It was the same thing. You know, a little faster car and all that. But you guys are living in the most exciting time, and that's what I do for a living. I invest in technology companies. And, you know, we're in the time where entrepreneurs are basically disrupting everything. Whatever you do today is going to be massively different in the next 5 years. Autonomous cars are real. 5 to 10 years from now, you know, driving is going to be like riding a horse. Sure, some people that like to drive, they're going to send you like, you can ride a horse. Cars are going to be fully autonomous. We're going to be able to go to space. We're going to have holidays in space if we so want to. We're going to eat food that is totally different, that is made for us to make our bodies better. We're going to live way longer because we're starting to understand what causes death. So, when, you know, before me, people used to die in the 60s, when they go to 60. Now, we expect to live 80, 85 years old. By the time you guys are going to die, there's a very big possibility that you guys will live over 100 years old. So remember, pace yourself. No need to start drinking early. You got 100 years or more. Because, I mean, the way diseases are going to be cured using technology. So the world is changing pretty much in every single way. You know, education is going to be totally different. Right? Education is going to be customized to what your needs are. Instead of doctors who, you know, today, you know, they do the best they can, you're going to have robots who are going to be the doctors because they're going to have hundreds of millions of records and they're going to be able to diagnose 99.99% of what you have. So what is the number one, you know, what do I look for when we're hiring people, and we hire tens of thousands of people every month, is basically AI engineers, people that understand artificial intelligence, because the whole world is going to be run by artificial intelligence. So the hottest job is not to be an MBA, you know, to businessman, or to be a lawyer and all that. The hottest job, the job that's in demand, the job that pays, you know, a couple of $100,000 when you leave college, is basically being a technology engineer, being an artificial intelligence engineer. Now, the highest paid job is to be a gamer. You know, in Korea, when you're a gamer and you leave college, you make $1.5 million on year one. Unfortunately, there are not that many of those openings. But it's all about technology. So whatever you do, make sure you're involved in technology, because we're living what I like to call the AI revolution, which is the artificial intelligence revolution, which is basically technology is going to change things, you know, everything the way we do it today.
If you could give advice to yourself, to your younger self, sitting in the audience, what advice would you give yourself?
So when I was young, if I was sitting there, what advice? You know, to just have fun. And I mean that. I mean, sometimes we're so overly stressed, and I tell this to my 13-year-old daughter, where she's at 1 o'clock in the morning, stressing that she's returning her homework the following day. I said, there's no need to stress. I mean, you know, take your time. You know, some learn faster than others and all that. And I did stress a lot in college, and I did stress a lot in my early years. And there was really no need, because I go back and I look back and said, oh my God, if I would have gotten a B instead of an A in that test, would have really changed anything in my life? The answer is no. Now, that doesn't mean you're mediocre and you settle for bad, but sometimes I think we push our boundaries too much in the earlier part of our year. And hey, enjoy yourself. And what I always told myself is always play to win and be the best at what you're going to choose to be. So if you were to ask me the thing I detest the more, it's called mediocrity, right? It's okay to not stress, but whatever you do, you gotta be the best, or you gotta give it your best effort. So what I don't tolerate is mediocrity. I hate average. like average effort or half, stuff like that. So, I followed that advice that somebody gave me, when I started, and doesn't matter what I'm doing, I'm gonna try to be the best in the world. Because even if I try to be the best in the world, if I'm not gonna be the best in the world at that, I'm gonna be damn close to it. Much better if I wake up one day and I'm gonna say, I'm just gonna be average, or I'm just gonna give it a little effort. So always maximum effort.
Thank you. What was your first experience with entrepreneurship, and what drove your interest in that direction?
So don't try this at home, right? I used to live here in Calle 10, and that was really close to the mountain, right? And my mom used to have a lot of nice clothes. And every time my mom used to go out, I used to set a table outside, and I used to sell my mom's clothes. That got a couple of mates fired. Because my mom used to come and say, like, what the hell, where's all my clothes? I had no idea. And then one day she returned early, and she saw me there. She saw like a line of people. I was lined up for the sale of the day. And then that business didn't last too long. But it was that drive, it's true. I used to buy candy from the two ladies, was Chela and Adelia. Adela or Adelia?
Adela.
Adela. And I used to buy it on credit. I said, I'll pay you next week. And kids wanted candies during the day, during break, and they knew they could come to my locker and I could sell candy. I used to mark it up, 20, 30%. So that's how I used to make money. And it was a great business for them too, because they were wholesalers to me. I used to buy at a cheaper price. And the only rule, we had our territory. I could only sell inside the school during the school hours. I was not allowed to sell after school because that was their gig. So, so I made a few dollars there, so that was fun.
In what ways can you and all of us contribute to the development of Bolivia?
You see, everybody has different ways to give back, right? And my friends, my rich friends who've done well, they like to get a big building at a famous university and they carry their last name and they take pictures and they feel good. To me, it's different. To me, what I want to do is, I've shown to the world, when we took the team 1994 World Cup, we played our opening match against Germany and we were as good as the Germans. And that to me taught me that the Bolivians are capable like anybody else. We just lack ambition. We don't think we can be great in the world. So my way of giving back is through my soccer team in Bolivia, Bolivar. And I lose millions of dollars every year with Bolivar. But it's a way that when you see these kids and you're selling them hope, and they go with all the hope that we're going to win and that we're going to make Bolivar be one of the best teams in Latin America, except Bolivia, because the rules are not clear in Bolivia, so it's hard. But my personality is one that I never give up. And I'm eventually going to guess it's not this president, it's going to be the next one. And I'm going to show them why I'm not a threat to anybody and that all I want to do is just help my country. My dream is help young people, help entrepreneurs, help them bring technology. Because I think Bolivians are as capable as anybody else.
Thank you. Then the last one is about the team. What are your thoughts on the Bolivian national team and your future goals for the Bolivar Club?
So I'm committed to make sure that Bolivia makes it to the World Cup again. But for that, we need to basically start with the youth. So what I did is, I started with something called the City Football Academy. I don't know how many of you know Manchester City. Okay, so they're my partners, and we're opening an academy where we're going to have the elite kids, the best kids beginning at 13-year-old, to start training with the exact same way that a kid trains at Manchester City, with the same methodology, same coaching, same training, because it all starts from the youth, right? You cannot teach a 25-year-old player how to change the way they play, how they think, but you can teach kids that have talent when they're 13-year-old. So what I want to do is, we're setting up, it's called the Bolivar City Football Academy. I did it in Santa Cruz, not in La Paz, because I believe the quality of player there is much better plus the competition. And it should take me 4, 5, 6, 10 years, but I need to make sure that before I go away, Bolivia will make it to the World Cup again. And I don't need to be the president of the federation, nothing. I want to help from the bottom. I don't have time. And the best way I can help is by making sure that we provide these kids with the same training. So if you're an awesome athlete anywhere in the world, your dream is to teach your dream is to play in the Manchester City Football Academy. We're doing the exact same thing in the Santa Cruz City Football Academy. It's exactly same books, same methodology, same videos, same training, same nutrition, same food, same psychologists. So if we start there, you're going to see 4 or 5 years, young Bolivian players are starting to emerge. And if we're good, then we're going to send those players to Europe for them to start playing. And then you bring them back for the national team. That's exactly what, I have a lot of admiration for a guy, the guy who started an academy called Tawiche Aguilera in Santa Cruz, he did that. Bolivian players were awesome in the 90s. And then the whole thing went to hell. And now, nobody does anything. So I'm gonna take it with my hands to make sure I do that.
Thank you very much for taking time to answer our questions. We know your schedule is very busy, so we'd like to move on to the next part of our program, which is we'd like to invite your daughter Sienna as well as Captain Cougar up to the stage.
Let's get ready to rumble! Sorry for this.
So thank you, Captain Cougar. With that, we'd like to make Sienna an honorary ACS Cougar. So thank you. Oh. Please.
All right, I think she should say at least one word, right? When I came to 8th grade, world class, so you gotta say 2 words.
I'm so happy to be here and see, I guess, the place where my dad grew up and see the places that caused him to be the man that he is today, which has given me so many opportunities. So, yeah.
That's great.
Thank you very much, Sienna. Thank you very much, Marcelo. At this point, we will. I'll invite the NHS and the other students that are going to be part of the tour to come down to the stage. And the other students, you're dismissed at this point. But thank you very much, and we'll head off.
You guys are gonna go back to class now. I tried to convince them to let you skip it, but they say no. So.